Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Herschel Talkers coming into SEC Championship Week. Georgia has a huge matchup against Alabama, the Gumps. They're coming off a 45-21 beatdown of the Nerds. Georgia Tech played really well. Defense shut down Paul Johnson in the triple option attack. Thought they looked really well. Also, Jake Fromm had 4 touchdowns, just dominating. The game was pretty much over at halftime, so an impressive win. Now we have Alabama. It's going to be a huge game. Georgia is currently a 13-point underdog. Biggest game of the year, of course, and it's just going to be a big challenge. Have my doubts about it, but I'm going to hope for the best. We need to get the running game going. Fromm needs to work his magic, hit all the different receivers, and we got to somehow shut down Tua. But we got a great conversation coming up with Uncle Lou from LouTube. He's doing really well this year. He has over 15,000 subscribers. So we had a great interview that's coming up. And I wanted to give a Dawg of the Week. This week I'm going to take Northwestern plus 14 against Ohio State. I think Ohio State pretty much played its best game of the year last week against Michigan as they blew them out 62-39. So Ohio State should still win, but I like Northwestern to cover plus 14. Trey's Dawg of the Week. And we have Uncle Lou coming up on a great interview. Enjoy. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Herschel Talkers. Have a great return guest here. Got Uncle Lou returning to the program. How are we doing today, Uncle? Yeah, I noticed Uncle Lou doing really good this year. You have over 15,000 YouTube subscribers, which is great. So it looks like business is booming for you.
Yeah, football season is always obviously a lot busier for what I do than the off season is. But yeah, this has been the best season so far over there for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to jump right into it. Georgia with a big win over the Nerds. Georgia Tech 45-21. Thought it was really impressive. Thought it was one of Jake Fromm's best games, and the running game looked really good, and the defense looked great against triple option. I want to get your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I mean for playing Georgia Tech, it was great. I don't think you can take anything you saw defensively from the Georgia Tech game and try to apply that forward to Alabama or anybody else for that matter. I mean, that's a totally different animal when you're playing Georgia Tech versus playing, a team that runs a real offense. So, I mean, I was happy with the way the defense played. We pretty much shut them down. I mean, they averaged 350 a game rushing. We held them to about 200 yards less than that. I mean, we completely dominated. But I don't think that means anything good or bad one way or the other, as far as trying to project that to what that might mean, for the Alabama game or anything.
Yeah, I can completely agree. I think it's, definitely they're put them down to a one-sided type offense, and, when they try to throw the ball, they're going to struggle. I thought it was really good, seeing Paul Johnson pretty mad on the sideline over there, kind of running that high school offense, as you call it. But I thought it was, it was a really good win.
Probably gave up. Well, they lost. Sure, I'm sure you know that. Nothing's ever been his fault ever.
Oh yeah.
In history, it was the player's fault or the weather's fault, or he's never taken responsibility for anything in his entire life. So, but I mean, we won. It was a dominating win. I mean, that's always good to beat Georgia Tech, and nobody got hurt, and that's the main thing when you're playing one of those teams, those cut blocks and all that. So, all the boxes got checked in that game. Win the game, get on to the next one without anybody getting injured, and that's what we did.
Yeah, on the Georgia Tech side, them going 7-5. I know they were kind of mad with them earlier in the year, and they reeled off, I think, like 6 out of 7. You think Paul Johnson's on the hot seat going forward, or they're kind of status quo? As they're happy with him. You get 6-7 wins, go to a bowl game, they're pretty happy.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he's getting fired this season, which was a possibility after the first month of the season. I mean, they started 1-3, and I mean, so, even some of the people that had been on the Paul Johnson train we're starting to talk about maybe it was time to head in a different direction for Georgia Tech. Of course, I can't have that.
Oh yeah.
Need Paul Johnson to stay there forever. And me and you might have even talked about this before, but I talk about this all the time. I mean, the thing is, obviously, we're going to beat them more times than not, as long as they're doing that. But the thing is, even in the years, I mean, the main thing about an in-state rival, or one of the main things, obviously, is recruiting, right? You win your in-state rival game, and then you can go to all those schools in Atlanta and everywhere else in Georgia and say, we run the state, that whole thing. Come here, don't go there, type of thing. Well, even the 3 times this century that Georgia Tech has beat, they're not able to do that because they're not even recruiting the same players.
Right.
We don't ever compete for a player against Georgia Tech. Every once in a while, maybe an offensive lineman or a defensive player. But when you look at like skill position players, none of the people we're recruiting are even considering Georgia Tech for obvious reasons. I mean, because of the offense. So one of the big advantages Tech gets in beating Georgia, they don't even have because of the offense they run. So, I mean, I hope they keep Paul Johnson forever.
Oh yeah, completely agree. Another thing I think I heard Friday, or I was listening to Dog Nation Daily, is I think Justin Taylor, the recruiting guy there, said Georgia had like 67 4 or 5 stars to Tech's 3, which is pretty funny. And then also, I think they said the other day, our offensive line average, 327 of their 250, and then some of the pictures I saw on Twitter, they're making fun of them, had some of the Georgia Tech guys had their shirts off, and it had like some skinny dude over there running around with the shirt off, and then it had a picture of like, Holyfield. I just thought that kind of answered all the questions right there,
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while they get, one of these people who really wants to go to Georgia Tech for a reason that doesn't have anything to do with athletics, but I mean, they're mostly just getting players that honestly other teams aren't even recruiting. Not Power 5 teams anyway.
Right.
I mean, look at their quarterback, and look, their quarterback is great for what Georgia Tech does. So I'm not knocking their quarterback, but there's not a team in America that wants him as a quarterback. Right. Other than a triple option team. I mean, he's 5'9". I mean, you can't see the guy. He squats down behind center. You can't see him.
Right.
And he can't throw. Right. I mean, Georgia Tech hasn't had any elite throwers, but this is by far the worst they've had. This guy, this Marshall. So, I mean, they're just getting what. I mean, who are they competing with? The Citadel. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm kind of clowning them a little, but it's the truth, though. I mean, Terry Godwin never considered Georgia Tech. Nicole Hardman never considered Georgia Tech.
Right.
Fromm never considered Georgia Tech. Justin Fields, and it's not because they don't like Georgia Tech necessarily or anything, but they just it's the offense. I mean, that's what it is. And I don't buy into the thing that some Tech fans will try to tell you, well, our admission standards are so high that we can't really compete in recruiting against these other schools. I mean, I don't buy that. I mean, was Tech was Tech an engineering school in 1990 or no? I'm pretty sure it was.
Right.
So I mean, were they accepting anybody in 1990, and then all of a sudden in 1991 they started only I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Stanford, it's hard to get into Stanford too, but they somehow produce NFL talent every single year on the offensive side of the ball. So I just don't buy that.
Right. Yeah, I think really, really good points. Well, looking ahead to the big showdown here, SEC championship game coming up Saturday with the Gumps, as you call them, which is I love the video so far. Making fun of them is pretty funny. But look, as I looked at it earlier this morning, ESPN, I think we're 13-point underdogs. So wanted to get your thoughts on what's Georgia got to do to win? Do we have a chance? And yeah, get your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, you know who you're talking to here. So, I mean, I obviously will have a chance in winning this game. I mean, the question is, does Bama have a chance? And I think Bama does have a chance here. they opened as a 10-point favorite. People immediately bet it up to 13. So for some reason, seems like the majority of people are expecting Alabama to win this game, which I can't understand for the life of me. But anyway, seriously though, I mean, there's some obvious things here, right, that you say in every game, especially big games, turnovers, special teams, blah, 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 the same boring stuff anybody can hear on ESPN.
Right.
But how about I was thinking about this the other day. 7. We need a combination of 7 sacks, turnovers, or big special teams plays. They don't even necessarily have to be touchdowns, but Miko field a punt on our own 25 and run it out to the Bama 40 or something like that. We need. I think 7 of those would be good. So what 4 sacks, a turnover, and a couple of big returns or something. And if you tell me at the end of the game we got that, then I think Georgia. I think that would be good for Georgia. Bama is clearly a better team. I mean, let's just be real. Georgia's going to have to play its best game. We're going to have to force some mistakes. We're going to have to manufacture some points some kind of way. But I definitely think Georgia's got a chance here. I mean, this is going to be the best team Alabama's played. It's going to be the best offense Alabama's played, and we're going to score. I've seen some people go, how's Georgia even going to score? Listen, I don't understand some of these people. I don't know if they're box score fans and don't watch. Don't watch games. I don't know. I don't know what anybody has seen from Georgia over the last month in Alabama that makes anybody think Georgia's not scoring here. I mean, Georgia could easily get to the 30s in this game. I'm not being funny. I'm not trash talking. I think this could be a lot more like the Georgia-Oklahoma game from last year than those old school SEC games where you see somebody winning 28-17 or something. Bama's going to score too. So you got to find a way to score some points, and I think Georgia can.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if we have an advantage on special teams, I think we're going to run on them, like you said, and we're going to be able to pass on them. I think Fromm's hot. I think Hardman last year burned him a couple of times on some long passes and touchdown. I think if we can stay within 7 to 10 points the whole game, because last couple of games, Bama started out slow against the Citadel, and even Auburn was in the game. You got to somehow hang with them in the third quarter because they dropped the hammer on teams in the third quarter, like Auburn last week, and then the Citadel. So if you can just hang with them, in the third and the fourth quarter, which I think we got the players.
Here's the thing. You look at the course of the season. Obviously, Alabama has looked better over the course of the entire season. But, football, it's like these people who say, well, Georgia lost to LSU and Alabama beat LSU, so this game's already over. I don't understand if these people just started following football this year, which, of course, we already know with the majority of the Gumps, that is the case. These people don't know anything that happened prior to 2008. Half of them think football was invented in 2008. But football is a game of matchups and momentum. And you can just forget about the LSU game. Everybody on planet Earth would agree LSU played its best game of the season and Georgia played its worst. It means absolutely nothing. If it meant anything, we'd have got blown out by Florida, and we didn't. So, I just don't understand how people have been watching football this long and still fall for the trick of the transitive property. It just doesn't work in football. It's a game of matchups and momentum. So Georgia's got to try to find both of those things. You mentioned special teams. Camarda has got to get it together for this game.
Yeah, right.
That was one thing last year where we were leaps and bounds better than where we are now. Now, Camarda's got a cannon for a leg, but I've watched games this year where every single punt he did went out of bounds after about 30 yards in the air. We can't have that. You got to flip field position. Punting against Bama is not the worst possible ending to a possession. But you got to flip field position when you do it. You can't be punting from your 30-yard line and giving Bama the ball at their 40. You can't do that. So he's got to have a good game. Already talked about maybe getting some returns from from Miko. And then, listen, everybody knows. I mean, if Hot Rod's not the greatest football player of the last 40 years, he's close. But besides that, Alabama struggles with extra points. So obvious advantage there. But but Camarda to me is the question mark because, I mean, we've scored on like 15 of our last 16 possessions or something like that. Hang that. I mean, you can forget that against Bama. I mean, we're not just going to move up and down the field. I mean, I think we'll score and get some big plays, and that's something Bama struggled with too. They've given up a lot of big plays this year. Yeah. Now, the referees have taken a lot of those back, which is a whole nother issue. I think 3 times this year, the referees have taken touchdowns away from other teams on questionable penalties, but that's neither here nor there. So Camarda's got to do his job. We can't be shanking punts out of bounds and giving Bama extra field position and stuff like that. And you got to find a way to come up with pass rush. I got crucified the first 6 weeks of this season because I wouldn't shut up about how we can't rush the quarterback and what's the problem. I mean, we were dead last in American sacks. I mean, Kirby's plan is to contain the QB. No one plans to contain Jake Bentley. The guy can't run from here to the mailbox. You sack quarterbacks. I mean, that's what you do. So this whole thing about, we're just not trying, bull. We just can't, period. We don't have a single NFL defensive lineman that I can find. That's, people talk about Roquan, and obviously we were never going to replace Roquan. Our defensive line is underwhelming to say the least. DeAndre Baker gets a sack every now and then from the outside, but can you tell me which defensive tackle on our team has any sacks this year?
Yeah, I think Walker's decent, DeAndre Walker, but I will.
Though I'm talking about defensive tackles. Where's Tyler Clark? Where's Rochester? Yeah. I mean, our best defensive lineman is Jordan Davis, and the guy was taking exams this time last year in high school.
Yeah, three-star from Charlotte. I agree.
Yeah, he's to me. Now I think he's got a lot of upside. He's a true freshman, so we'll have him for at least a couple more years. But you got to find a way. I mean, here's the thing: you have to play man to man and get pressure on Tua. I don't see any other way. You cannot.
Yeah.
You could have 15 defensive backs covering those receivers. If you don't get no pressure on Tua, he's still going to go 25 of 30 for 250 yards. I mean, that's just the reality. If you let him sit back there, this game it will be a blowout. If we don't get pressure on Tua, this game will absolutely be a blowout. Bama will score every time they get the ball. So we have to find a way to pressure him, move him off his spot, get him running around. I mean, LSU and Mississippi State, I mean, both got blown out by Bama, but defensively, that they did their job. You're not holding Bama to 17 points. I mean, you can forget it. They scored 29 on LSU. I forget what they scored on Mississippi State, but it was somewhere around in there, maybe in the 30s.
But 24. Both LSU and Mississippi State hold them under 30. So
okay,
slowed them down a little bit.
That's the best you can do. And they did it by playing press man and getting pressure on Tua. Getting pressure on Tua. That's what you have to do. You can't sit back in zone coverage. I mean, they've got 3 NFL wide receivers and an NFL tight end. So they're going to get their plays, but you've got to take the risk. You got to play man-to-man and pressure Tua. That probably means Jerry Jeudy's going to have at least 180-yard touchdown on you. I mean, that's just going to happen. But
would you put DeAndre Baker on him and let him shadow him wherever he goes?
I've thought about that, and honestly, I don't know if DeAndre has a side of the field that he likes better or how he feels. I think they should. If you do that, Waddle and Smith are gonna. I mean, they've got too many wide receivers to say, well, if we just take Jeudy out of the game. So I think they should just put Baker at whatever he's most comfortable with. Now, if he doesn't care which side he's on, left or right, then okay, yeah, let him shadow Jeudy. But I mean, you could put Deion Sanders on Judy. He's going to make some plays. I mean, he's one of the best wide receivers I've seen in college football in a long, long time. I mean, I don't understand how this guy. This guy catches slants 10, 11 yards downfield, and he's speeding up as he catches. It's unbelievable to watch. But so I really don't know the answer to that, whether we should just try to lock down Judy. I mean, it's not like playing South Carolina. I mean, there's no question there. You put Baker on Sam, period. You don't even have to think twice about it.
Right.
But what happened when we did that? What's that other guy's name? Brian Edwards. I mean, he lit us up. Well, Bama's got Judy. Then they've got two wide receivers that are better than Brian Edwards. So now we were playing Campbell then, of course, who couldn't cover a twin-size bed if he was a king-size sheet. But we had dropped the ball, and I'm a little bit pissed off about it for a couple of different reasons, and it's not just Campbell. I don't know what we're doing developing these players. We're not developing them, but there's an issue here. I don't understand how we sign and recruit the highest rated defensive back we've ever signed, put him out on the field, and 8 weeks into the season, he looks like he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Then I flip over and watch this Surtain guy from Alabama who was rated lower than Campbell, and he looks like an All-American. I don't understand it. It's not that Campbell Campbell has just been terrible. I don't know any other word to describe it. Now, they benched him now, but it's disappointing. And don't get me started on the Justin Fields thing. This guy, is he any better today than he was January 1st of this year? I don't think so. I don't think he is. And that's a problem.
On the injury front coming in, I guess it's not looking too good on Monty Rice. Looks like that ankle's a little worse than we thought. Who'd you start as your five on the offense? Because it looks like they're flopping around, and Cade Mays is banged up with that stinger.
I think Cade Mays will probably play. Ben Cleveland, I'm not so sure about. I'm not too worried about our offensive line. Our offensive line is better than it was last year. Alabama's defensive line is not as good as it was last year. We didn't have anybody on our team last year, and we don't have anybody on our team right now capable of blocking Deron Payne. But that guy's one of the best defensive linemen to come through the SEC in a long time. He's gone. But they got that other guy now, Quirion Williams, whatever his name is, something Williams, I think.
Right.
That took Deron Payne's place. And he's good. He's really, really good. But he's no Deron Payne. But offensive line, if I had to make a list of concerns heading into this game, offensive line would be way down the list somewhere. We rotated a lot of guys in and out this year. Center is a little bit of a concern, I guess. I like Gaillard, and for what he is, I think he's done as good as anybody could have expected. This guy, he's a defensive lineman, for Christ's sake.
Converted.
We converted to a center.
Mm-hmm.
And last year and this year, though especially this year, he's basically out there with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores. And talent-wise, he's probably about the 10th most talented offensive lineman on our team right now, because all the talent is freshmen and sophomores on the offensive line. But he knows what he's doing. And against most teams, he's able to get the job done. But it's nothing against Gaillard. Like I said, I love this guy. He just doesn't and won't ever have the talent to handle any elite nose tackle or defensive tackle. But if he gets hurt and we have to put that Trey Hill in again, you got to cross your fingers every time that guy snaps the ball. I think he can block a little bit better than Gaillard, and I think he'll probably end up being a better player than Gaillard. But right now, man, I'm getting nervous right now just thinking of him having to snap more balls.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I think we'll be okay. We played, like I said, we played a lot of different guys.
So, game plan, if you were Chaney, or what you'd like to see, you think try to establish the run, try to spread it out a little bit? What's your...
Yeah, it kind of pains me to say this because I spent all off season, with the we better learn to pass the ball speech that I kept giving all year. Alabama lost its top 6 defensive backs from last year. I was like, listen, we're going to have to throw the ball to beat Bama. But, the reality of the situation is here we are. This regular season's over. We got Bama coming up in 4 days. We still haven't developed a grown-up passing game. But the running game is way better than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Way better. I thought we would take a big step back running the ball. And if you look at the numbers, we're actually a little bit ahead of where we were last year. So combined out with the fact that Alabama can seemingly put up 50 points anytime they want to, it might be a good idea to figure out how to run the ball and slow this game down.
Right.
Obviously, we're going to have to pass the ball. And, Fromm's going to have to be efficient, make good decisions, good reads, get us in the right plays, out of the wrong plays. No stupid sacks, especially if we get into field goal range and he takes another one of those 15-yard sacks like he did against LSU. I swear to God, I don't know what I might do. But I'm still mad about that. 5 weeks later or whatever it is, that play cost us the game, in my opinion. It's LSU, but so he's got, and he's been playing great. I'm hard on Fromm when he deserves it, but Fromm has been playing really, really good since the LSU game.
Yes.
I don't want to beat the dead horse here. He was absolutely horrible against LSU. He looked like, just terrible. There was just nothing good you can say about Jake Fromm in that LSU game, and I let him have it. But he has been on fire since then. So, I make a big deal about, calling it like I see it with these UGA players. So you got to give Fromm credit. he has played great. And, people can shut up with all the who has Georgia played crap too. That's getting old too. Hell, we beat 3 ranked teams in a row, didn't we? And 2 of them were in the top 10, weren't they? Yeah, they were. So, look, we can be quiet about that now. We beat a higher ranked team than Alabama has. So let's remember that. Florida is currently ranked ahead of LSU. So that's
I heard after we play Alabama this week, we'll have, I think it's number 10 strength of schedule team, or out of all the teams, we're ranked number 10 after the Alabama game. So yeah, we played a hell of a schedule.
Yeah, Alabama's got, has played LSU, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M.
Right.
We've played LSU, Florida, Kentucky, and whoever I'm leaving out. But so, yeah, I'm just sick of the people who have the and the thing is, people say it about every damn team. That's the excuse people give for every team they don't like. I hear it about Clemson. Clemson ain't no good. Who they played? Well, Alabama ain't played nobody. I try to talk about how good Kyler Murray is. I hate Oklahoma, but man, are you a football fan or not? Can you not appreciate what Kyler Murray's doing? Well, he ain't played nobody. Big 12 defenses. People don't want to give Trevor Lawrence no credit at Clemson. Dude's throwing for 300 a game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, but but he throws it 30 times. We run the ball. Yeah, well, that's great. Clemson had 350 yards rushing against South Carolina. We have, and he still had 300 passing. So just give give people credit. It's not easy to win. Okay, that it's not easy to win. I love making fun of Florida. Florida's a good team. We whipped them. Kentucky's a good team. We whipped them.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn. Auburn's terrible.
7-5. Hey, Birmingham Bowl.
1 win per $1 million that they paid him.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, Auburn. Yeah. Hey, now these Auburn fans think they're getting Bob Stoops. You heard this now? These people fall for what they read on the internet, won't they? They're not getting rid of God. I'm sorry, they are not paying. I don't care what you take all the boosters you want. They are not paying no $32 million buyout. I refuse to believe that.
I agree.
That is insane. That's double what any other buyout has ever been. So I don't see it happening. But the rumor mill yesterday, I swear to God, they're getting Bob Stoops. For that.
Yeah, speaking of that, what happened to Michigan and his Harbaugh on the hot seat because he's 0-4 against Ohio State and Urban Meyer owns him.
Yeah. Michigan's in a spot. Michigan is about to be hate comparing different teams from different time frames, but it's like it's about like the decision Georgia had to make a few years ago.
Yeah.
You want to keep winning 9 and 10 games and a bunch of Outback Bowls, or do you want to roll the dice and see if you can take the next step? I mean, that's what it comes down to for Michigan right now. So I don't know. And Michigan is a better team than Ohio State. And no one, you just can't convince me otherwise. I mean, I watch a ton of college football, and Michigan is just a better team than Ohio State. And they came out and got absolutely ran over. And there's just no excuse for that. If I'd have told you last week Michigan scored 39 points against Ohio State, who would you think of won that game?
Oh, yeah. Michigan all the way.
Michigan probably won by 2 touchdowns then.
Oh, yeah.
Ohio State not scoring over 39 against that defense. 62? Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they got some tough questions to ask. I think being ranked so high all year was probably going to keep some of the heat off of Harbaugh, honestly, and they're still in the top 10 probably, or close at least in a lot of polls. I'm sure they'll bring him back, but
Maybe hot seat next year, getting her big look.
yeah, and Urban Meyer's gone from Ohio State after this year. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it until I'm proven wrong. So maybe, I guess they can keep on with the maybe next year routine and hope that Urban Meyer leaves. I don't know. I have a feeling he is, but
Got to see how his health is,
human trash can. Jesus Christ! Did you see him on the sideline of the Maryland game?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they might as well have had a couple of EMTs following this guy around with a gurney. I mean, literally every time something went wrong for Ohio State, he had an immediate headache over there. And you would think a headache was a brain aneurysm the way this guy's acting over there. What an embarrassment. And you know what the thing is? And this is what they tell me, Lou, you shouldn't make fun of him. What if he really does have a serious health condition? Well, then he's got no business on the sideline. If he's half as sick as he's trying to make it out to be in acting, he's got no business on the sideline coaching a major college football game. None. It's irresponsible. It's not fair to the team or the players. And it's not fair to his own self, if that's true. So which is it? It's got to be either way. He shouldn't be there. He's either lying and faking it and making it all up, just like he did at Florida, in which case he should be run out of town, or he really is on death's door and he has no business being on the sideline coaching the game.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it just don't make no sense. I don't like the guy. I mean, listen, the guy's a good football coach. I mean, what are you going to say? He's a good recruiter, and he's a good football coach, but he's human trash. So,
Shady.
that's just what it is with him. So, but as far as the Harbaugh thing goes, I don't know. I mean, who the hell would Michigan get if they got rid of that guy? I don't know. Now, I don't think you should keep a guy just because you're not sure who you could get. But at the same time, I mean, you're paying this guy $6-7 million a year. Hard to imagine who you're going to bring in after that. I just don't know. What about Brian Kelly to the NFL, though?
That's interesting.
Been hearing a lot about that the last week or so.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I'm not a Brian Kelly expert, but I guess he's always expressed interest in wanting to one day coach in the NFL. And I guess his stock is as high now as it'll ever be with the undefeated season.
They're like Cleveland Browns or something.
I've heard that.
Maybe.
And
How about?
I've heard a trade between Notre Dame and the Ravens.
Get Harbaugh.
For the other Harbaugh, yeah.
That'd be interesting. Hey, have them both in college football.
Yeah. And of course, the Urban Meyer to Cleveland rumors are always out there too, with him, of course, being from Ohio and currently living there, being the coach of Ohio State. But I don't know. I think it would be hard for him to pull the medical excuse routine again, like he did in Florida, without taking an entire year off. And the Browns aren't going to wait. I mean, they have to have a coach now.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see how it goes.
Yeah, I wanted to probably one of the craziest games I've seen. I stayed up and watched it with my parents. I actually changed the channel when I thought the kid threw the pick mine. But what'd you think about the LSU Texas A&M game? That was a crazy game.
Same thing. I wasn't watching it, and the other games went off. The Notre Dame game and whatever other late game was on, and I was at the beach. And I said, "Well, that's it for me. I'm going to bed." And I went and got in bed, just scrolling through Facebook or something before I went to sleep, and I saw somebody had made a post about the game going to overtime or something. And I said, "Oh, well, I'll flip it on and watch it." Thinking, 10, 15 minutes it'll be over.
Right.
Damn, 7 overtimes. It was an exciting game,
Exactly.
and I don't know. It makes you wonder. You watch Texas A&M there, and I'll admit I haven't watched a ton of Texas A&M this year, but it makes you wonder how they lost 4 games with those receivers. I mean, those receivers are uncoverable.
Exactly.
LSU
Sick.
has an NFL secondary. I mean, let's not forget about that. I mean,
Yeah.
I like to brag on Georgia's secondary, and I'd put DeAndre Baker up against anybody in America. But LSU's got 2 first-round picks back there, Greedy Williams and that Delpit guy. And the other 2 guys they got too, they may end up in the NFL one day too. I mean, they are absolutely loaded on the back end. And I mean, Texas A&M just lit them up through the air. But yeah, that was an exciting game. Most points ever scored in an FBS game, I guess.
Yeah, he had I call him Waterboy Oldron. He was running sprints on the sidelines doing the timeouts. That was kind of funny.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah, they Gatorade backed him too when that
Oh
interception
yeah,
happened. Didn't
yeah.
happen. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, I didn't see that live. That was before I started watching, but I saw it on Sports Center or something the next day. But yeah, that ended up. And
I think
yeah,
Jimbo's got him rolling. They got upside. Maybe give a little push in the West next year.
they done bought up a ton of hotel rooms in Athens too.
Yeah, I was about to say they come in Athens next year. That might be an interesting game. I think that's what late November towards the end of the
Yeah,
year.
yeah. Instead of playing UMass, we're playing Texas A&M next year.
Finally,
So yeah, and you mentioned Jeff Sintel earlier, but he was talking the other day that there's going to be a ton of Texas A&M fans at that game. They've already started buying up RV sites and hotel rooms and a lot of these hospitality companies that organize away trips and stuff like that are booked up already for that game. So yeah, that'll be our schedule next year is real. I mean, Notre Dame, Texas A&M.
oh yeah, good slate, home slate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get wanted to get a couple coaching rumors and maybe conspiracies. So I was going to ask. So Bobo lost another one at 3-9. Any chance you'd like? I know him and Kirby pretty close. Him getting a look if
Oh,
I know Cheney's done well.
I would love it. I don't understand, man. These Georgia fans.
I like him. I always liked him.
I did too. What do you know? I mean, 40 points a game, and you want to run people hated him because he quote unquote threw too many screen passes. I mean, I get it. He cost us the South Carolina game that year. That was terrible play calling there at the goal line. At the end of it, got Todd Gurley, he didn't touch the ball. That's pitiful. That was piss poor. But the guy was at Georgia for 10 years. It was one game. Let it go. I mean, look at the body of work.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason we didn't get where we wanted to go when we had Bobo wasn't because of our offense. Okay, we were scoring 40 points a game, but giving up 45.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy. But here's the main thing: if we're going to get rid of Cheney, and I'm on the fence on Cheney too. I mean, sometimes I love the guy, sometimes I hate him. I mean,
Can we just run it? Can we not run it up the middle 15 times a game? That's my only thing. My mom calls the play. Run it up the middle.
I find myself yelling that at the TV all the time, and then 5 minutes later we run it up the middle for a 60-yard touchdown.
Yeah. Chop
So,
wood.
yeah, and that's his mentality. My issue with Cheney is it just seems to be it just seems like the most creative thing we do is a jet sweep, and our passing game to me looks like a middle school team. The routes are basic. Half our pass plays only involve 2 receivers, and then maybe a third third option as a check down, running back in the flat, or I mean, it just seems very vanilla or passing game, and you have to be forward thinking. And it's great that we're running back. That's awesome. You got to look around, and you just got to know that at some point you have to have the ability to throw for 300 a game if you need to. And I'm not convinced we have that ability against a good team. And I don't understand it. We've got the most talented group of wide receivers that we've ever had, and it's not even close. It's not even close. Do we have an AJ Green on the team? No. But collectively, our receivers right now are light years ahead of any other group of receivers as a whole we've ever had. How many 5-star receivers do we need? I mean, we got so many, we're not even playing one of them. I mean, he sits on the bench all game.
Yeah.
Just Demetrius Robertson.
And you got a chance of getting 2 next year. I think Hazelwood might come on back because he's looking at like Miami, which is hot garbage.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's why I would just prefer these kids don't commit. I hate this whole I'm committed thing because it means nothing, and all it does then is piss me off.
Stresses everybody out.
I just had it with this guy. I mean, this guy's giving an interview to Jeff Sentell on a Friday. He's all dog, committed to the G, can't wait to get to Athens. Literally 3 days later, he's uncommitted. Yeah. And it's just. And the John Emery thing didn't really bother me because, we're just a magnet for running backs. So John Emery leaves, that's fine. We'll get somebody else who's at least almost as good. And honestly, we could go 2 full classes without signing a running back and still be way better off than 99% of the teams in America.
Oh, yeah.
But elite wide receivers is something that's been hard for Georgia to get. Even the ones that we've managed to get in the past are people like Miko. I love Miko. I love McCole Hardman. He's one of the most exciting players in college football. He's 5'10".
Yeah.
Terry Godwin is 5'11". I love Terry Godwin. Best hands in the SEC. He's 5'11". Demetrius Robertson is under 6 feet. We get all these athletes. We don't ever get a true elite wide receiver, and we have or had a chance, and maybe we still do with Hasselwood. And so it just pissed me off that but again, it's hard to blame him. I mean, if I'm a senior in high school and I'm Jaden Hasselwood, the number 1 wide receiver in America, I can literally go to any school I want. And I'm watching Georgia play football this year. And it's week 6 or 7. And we've got 3 5-star wide receivers on our team. And combined between the 3 of them, they've got less than 20 catches. I have to ask myself, is that really where I need to go? So it's not that I blame him for not coming to UJ. It's just aggravating when these people are committed and then they uncommit and then I'll come back for a bit. He was at the Auburn game. Like, why are you here? You uncommitted? Like, I get mad. But I don't really blame him. If I was an elite wide receiver like that, why would I go to Georgia?
Right.
So I can sit next to D-Rob and run 2 jet sweeps a year? No thanks.
Right. I agree.
So I don't know. And the Justin Fields thing. Boy, we done screwed that up, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
My God. How many, and first of all, for anybody that's listening to this later that's getting ready to wear their fingers out in the comment section with the Jake Fromm is our starter, this idiot. Yes, Jake Fromm is the starter. No one's saying he's not. But we're one fishing hook away, and our backup is a true freshman. And you got this guy in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, which were all blowout wins by UGA. You got this guy handing the ball off and running quarterback sweeps 30 times in the fourth quarter of blowouts.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, I literally was losing my mind with like, what are we doing here? And then you flip over to Alabama. It's the third quarter. They're up 66-10. And Jalen Hurts, their backup, is in the game throwing 80-yard bombs in the third quarter. You know why? Because Tua might get hurt. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, Fromm might get hurt too. And what if Fromm? Let me ask you this: if Fromm gets hurt in the first play against Alabama, what's Georgia's chance of winning that game?
Yeah, slim to none. Pretty bad.
0.
Yeah.
This guy has thrown like 5 passes all year against SEC teams.
Yeah.
What are we doing? It makes no sense. No sense. You send this guy in against South Carolina in the second week of the year and tell him to hand off 19 times in a row. Pitiful.
Yep.
Pitiful. Now, it's different if your backup is a junior or a senior and it's been there 2 or 3 years. And this guy, I mean, he's a true freshman. And it's not about him starting over Fromm. We know Fromm is the starter. We get that. But you saw Fields play against Georgia Tech. He any better today than he was on January 1st? No. Whose fault is that? That's Georgia's fault. That's Georgia's fault. This guy should have been throwing 10, 15 passes a game, every single game, especially the first 5 or 6 games. Well, I wasn't surprised at all that we didn't put him in against LSU. You're going to wait until we're down by 20 points against a top 10 team on the road and then put Justin Fields in and let him throw the ball? Of course not. You should have been doing that the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season so that if we got down to LSU and you needed to make a change, you knew Fields was ready. But instead, we're trotting this guy out there like he's our 4th-string running back. And so you then didn't have that option against LSU. Then you get a week off before we play Florida, and he rides Pine the entire game. And Fromm had his best game of the season, and then boom, that was it. It was over at that point. But you wasted an entire year. Why did we not redshirt him? Are you telling me we wasted a Justin Fields red shirt so that he could hand off 16 times against Middle Tennessee State or whoever we played, Austin Peay?
All right.
My God, pitiful. And listen, if Justin Fields transfers, it's just like the Jaden Hasselwood thing. Do I want him to transfer? No, I don't want Fields to transfer. Why? I don't want to play him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's what'll happen. But if he transfers, it's not going to be because he didn't start this year. He knew he wasn't starting this year. He came to a team with a returning quarterback who went to the national title game last year. So obviously he knew he wasn't starting. But he should have been given the respect of at least running a real offense when he was put into the game. I mean, they might as well just slapped him in the face, I think.
All right.
Sending him in there and letting him do nothing but hand the ball off or run quarterback sweeps is pitiful. And I don't know who's to blame for that. I don't know if that falls on Kirby. I don't know if it falls on Chaney. I don't know if it falls on Coley. I don't know who it falls on, or all of them, or what. But you wasted an entire year of Justin Fields' development, sending him into the game, handing the ball off. He should have been throwing the ball and I think that was a huge, huge mistake. And listen, you may be looking at a scenario in 2020 where you have to watch Jacob Eason and the Washington Huskies face off against Justin Fields and Florida State in the national title game. And what are we going to say then? What's the excuse going to be? And again, this has nothing to do with Fromm. Fromm's done everything he can do. You know, Fromm is what he is. Between the years, there's not a better quarterback in America, pro or college, than Jake Fromm. That guy, you know, he can read defenses as good as anybody else. Knows playbook in and out, gets us into the right plays, out of the wrong plays, makes the right read more times than not. But he has some limitations.
Right.
Now he makes the most. He makes the most of what he was given. I mean, he can't help how tall he is. He can't help how strong his arm. You either have an NFL arm, or you don't. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not his fault. and he does everything we could ever ask him to do. But I just have a bad feeling that the way we've handled the Justin Fields situation this year is going to have a sad ending for Georgia fans, because Justin Fields can throw the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Now, reading defenses, knowing the playbook, all that kind of stuff, again, those are things that should have been learned in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season. He practiced. The coaches see him at practice every day, Lou. Yeah, that's great. You know what else the coaches saw at practice? They also saw that Jonathan Hamm was a better field goal kicker than Rodrigo Blankenship. They saw that at practice, too.
Yeah.
Good. If practice was all that mattered, Ben Cleveland would never have played a snap at UGA. He's lazy and only gives half-ass efforts in practice. But somebody got hurt. They had to put Ben Cleveland in, and come to find out, he's a gamer. So, can you learn and grow in practice? Of course you can. Can you replicate in-game experience at practice? No. Justin Fields would see more in 10 snaps of a game than he would see in 100 at practice. And we blew it.
Yeah, I agree.
Fromm playing great football right now. I'm happy with Fromm. But we're a sprained ankle away from having to put Fields in, and the guy's got no clue what he's doing, and that's the coach's fault.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to throw a couple of playoff scenarios, what ifs. So I'm sure you know that currently it's Bama 1, Clemson 2, Notre Dame 3. Georgia's probably going to move up to 4, Oklahoma 5, Ohio 6. So let's just say if Georgia beats Alabama, say Ohio State wins and Oklahoma, so a lot of people are saying Alabama will still get in no matter what. So I'm looking at it as a Georgia fan, we might end up having to try to beat these guys twice, which looks impossible. So is that what you're saying as well?
Yeah, and I don't think that's right either. And I get it that the committee's job is put the best 4 teams in. I understand that. And I was all for Alabama getting in last year over a 2-loss Big Ten champion. I don't understand. People want to cry that the SEC schedules UMass and Citadel in Week 11 and all this. If we beat Alabama in the SEC title game, and Oklahoma and Ohio State both finished the regular season 12-1 with conference championships, and Alabama finishes the season 12-1 without a conference championship, and Alabama gets in and they don't, I'm all for canceling the SEC championship game from here forward, because it means absolutely nothing. It's only an opportunity to knock yourself out. That's all it becomes at that point. Right. So it means nothing. And other conferences should do the same thing. I'm not saying that with a 4-team playoff or even a 6-team or whatever they end up going to, I'm not saying that if you win your conference, you should be guaranteed a spot in. But if you've got 2 teams with identical records, 2 Power 5 teams with identical records, one wins their conference and one doesn't, you're telling me that doesn't mean anything if you put Alabama in over Ohio State or Oklahoma. Do I think Alabama's better than Ohio State and Oklahoma? Yes, I do. So if the only goal is the top 4 teams, then I get it. Put Alabama in. But you're telling all these other teams that winning your conference doesn't mean anything. And you're better off, losing in the regular season and not even having to play in your conference championship game like Alabama did last year. I don't think that's right, but that's what will happen, I think.
So how about for us? Let's say Georgia plays Alabama real close, moral victory, as they say. I don't know. You lose like 45-35 in a close one. What's the maybe scenario Georgia could still get in with 2 losses, you think?
I don't think Georgia deserves to get in if they lose the conference championship game.
Right.
But the LSU loss actually helped us, I think. Right. Because if we lose this game, we would have fallen behind LSU, and they would have been the highest ranked 2-loss team. I think if we lose a close one to Alabama, we'll be the highest two-loss team. When Ohio State lose.
Right.
I mean, if we're sitting here talking about Alabama's getting in, even if they lose, I think you have to assume then the same thing would apply to Clemson, probably. I think they're probably in regardless too.
Notre Dame's already in. They're taking the week off.
So I mean, if Ohio State and Oklahoma lose, Georgia loses, who's after that? Okay, so Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, UGA, Ohio State, Oklahoma. Who's seventh? I honestly don't know. Washington. I don't know who would be seventh. I honestly don't know.
Right.
Because if all those teams lose, if the 4, 5, and 6 team all lose, which is what you're talking about, Georgia lose a close one, Ohio State and Oklahoma lose, all that happens, then you're asking yourself, would Georgia still be ahead of whoever is currently seventh? And who would that be? Central Florida?
Yeah, that's the other one. And they just lost the quarterback too, so they don't look as attractive.
Yeah, I don't think Central Florida gets in no matter what. So forget about them. So who's left? Florida and LSU both have 3 losses. They're out. What are the other 2 loss teams? Are there any? West Virginia? No, they got 3 losses.
LSU's got 3 losses.
LSU.
3 losses.
I mean, I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head who are currently the 2 lost teams.
Yeah. I'm looking at it, trying to look at stuff.
But here's the thing. I know Texas beat Oklahoma earlier in the year, but as Georgia fans, we like to say that the LSU win wouldn't happen again.
Right.
Oklahoma beat Texas, and it won't be close, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the Ohio State, they're playing a 4 or 5 loss Northwestern team. Pitiful. Neither one of those teams are losing. So we're kind of jumping down a rabbit hole here.
Oh yeah.
I think Georgia should win to get in. I don't. If you lose the conference, to me, the conference championship is a playoff game. If you can't win that, what are you doing? I don't think you should get in. But then again, I don't think the committee doesn't. They're going to put Alabama in anyway. So what do I know?
All right, I'm going to throw one last question at you. This will be maybe what's the most embarrassing or the worst start out of first-year coaches? I think I got 5 for you. So you got Chip Kelly 3-9 at UCLA, Scott Frost 4-8 at Nebraska, got Pruitt 5-7 at Tennessee, Willie Taggart 5-7 at Florida State, and then Chad Morris. That was maybe
it's between Pruitt and Taggart. The other 3 teams. Tennessee and Florida State have infinitely more talent than any of those other teams you named.
Right.
Sick of hearing the excuse from Tennessee fan too. Butch Jones depleted us and this, that, and all offensive line. And check the recruiting rankings. Okay, there's not 20 teams in America that have recruited better than Tennessee over the last 4 years, and you can't make a bowl. Same can be said for Florida State. Where's UCLA and Nebraska and Arkansas in the recruiting rankings over the last 4 years? In the 40s, 50s, 60s? I don't know. I have to look it up, but they're nowhere near as high as Tennessee and Florida State. But listen, Tennessee, it's not a coaching problem at Tennessee. They think I'm trolling. I'm not trolling. Tennessee's program is just dead. It doesn't matter who the coach is. There's no high school talent there, and there's not a single high school recruit alive who's ever witnessed Tennessee win the SEC. Tennessee is just Tennessee is Vandy and Kentucky. Kentucky's going to win 9, 10 games this year. What's going to happen next year? They're going to be back to 5 or 6. We all know that, right? That's what Tennessee is. Tennessee wins 9 games in 2016. What happened last year? 4-8. What happens this year? 5-7. Can they make a bowl game next year? I don't know. I'd have to look at their schedule. I don't know what their non-con is. I don't know who they're playing from the West, other than they play Alabama, which is a loss. So I don't know who else they play. So can they win 6 games next year instead of 5? Maybe. But they're just not a good program. It's got nothing to do with the coach. Is Butch Jones an elite coach? No. Could Butch Jones go to Kentucky and do the same thing Bob Stoops is doing? No. Yeah, of course he could. He's not the world's worst coach. Derek Dooley is not the world's worst coach. We've already seen what Lane Kiffin can and can't do, but he was really only there for a year. Can't really count him. But I mean, it's not the coach. Tennessee's just a bad program right now.
Right.
You know, changing ADs, 11. Listen, I don't think there's ever been a job opening that 11 people turned down ever. Not even to get a coaching job. And you had people that would rather stay at Purdue last year than come to Tennessee.
I think you and I got emails about that job.
Yeah. I mean, the guy who stayed at Iowa State, for Christ's sake, instead of coming to Tennessee. I mean, it's just a bad job right now. That you can't, there's no, I don't want to say there's no in-state talent in Tennessee. Of course there is. Problem is they all play for Georgia and Clemson. T. Higgins, Cade Mays, all the good ones leave. And there's not very many, as opposed to somewhere like Georgia is just loaded. You know, Georgia, Florida, Texas, California. I mean, those places are loaded. Tennessee, there's just no talent there. Mm-hmm. And they used to be able to come into places like Atlanta and get, steal some really good players. That's not the case anymore. I mean, like I said, I'll give Pruitt some credit because he's out recruiting Dan Mullen, which, if you think about it, is a minor miracle because Florida's a recruiting hotbed, and Dan Mullen's been doing this for a decade as a head coach. You would think he'd have a leg up there, but he doesn't. So give Pruitt some credit. He's hovering around the 20 mark, I think, last time I checked in recruiting. Right. But, will Tennessee beat Georgia next year? No. Will Tennessee beat Georgia once over the next 3 or 4 years? Probably. It's just bound to happen. But they're not winning. They're not winning the East anytime soon. They're not winning 10 or 11 games anytime soon. They're just miles away. Florida State, I think, is in a better position to rebound than Tennessee is. Although I will admit that was a huge flop Taggart pulled off down there at Florida State. The only thing saving him, I mean, everybody installs new schemes and stuff like that. I get it, but he's installing a totally different offense down there. So maybe you give him a little benefit of the doubt year one and say, well, take a year for these guys to catch on or whatever. But man, offensively, they were just horrible.
Yeah. And hot garbage.
The defense kind of looked bad too towards the end of the year, but come on. I mean, their defense was really, really good the first half of the season, but they got to get tired of that. They have to. So, they sort of checked out. I think the defense did a month or so ago, so hard to blame them. But yeah, that's bad what's going on down in Florida State. I don't think anybody saw that coming, especially to have that bad of a season. Really,
first time since 1981 they hadn't made a bowl game. It's terrible. Yeah.
They had the longest bowl streak. Georgia was third. Of course, now we're second.
Right.
Longest active bowl streak. We're at 21 or 22, something like that. Hats off to Alabama, though, for making 14 bowl games in a row. Keep up the good work.
There you go. And what you thought that was random? Mac Brown going to UNC? That was a little random. I didn't see that one. What you think about that one?
I don't like that move either. I don't like
67, man. He's old.
I know. And the thing is, okay, when you really think about it, what did he do at Texas? Not much.
He's the governor.
Not much. He won that one national title because he had a generational player there with Vince Young or whatever. But other than that, he really didn't do much. And being out of the game for 10 years, I don't know. I mean, this reminds me of the Herm Edwards hire. It just screams of desperation.
Yeah.
The guy's been in a broadcast booth for 10 years. I don't know. I know he's from there and all that. So, and let's be real, North Carolina. I mean, name the hottest 10 coaches, whether they're coordinators or whatever, that are available for next year. North Carolina's not getting any of those 10, whoever the 10 are. So, maybe this is the best they can do. I don't know. But one more thing just reminded me I wanted to say about the Chaney and Bobo situation. I probably unlikely we bring Bobo in, although it wouldn't bother me. Right. But if we get rid of Chaney, I want someone under the age of 40, a creative, somebody with an offensive mind, something creative, young, energetic, I'm not saying turn us into Oregon. That's not what I'm saying. But I think you can run a pro-style offense and still recruit, elite offensive linemen and NFL running backs. I think you can do all that and still have some creativity and grown-up passing schemes and stuff like that on offense. So if Chaney goes the way of the dodo bird, what is this about Chaney and Pittman or a package deal? You believe that? You buy that?
Not anymore. At first I have, but I think I've heard Pittman saying, this is his last stop. He's getting on up there in age. But I had heard a rumor that Chaney might be looking around after the year. He's got some medical problems. I read that on a board. That's just a rumor. But that's why I've always been looking at this Bobo thing. I've looked at it every week. I was like, he's 3-9. You got 5 kids. Him and Kirby Smart are on the same text messages, played together. They're go to Lake House. I just think he might get a look. I'm just saying if something happened with Chaney.
That wouldn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I like it because you give him Fromm and Fields and all his wide receivers slinging it around. Put up 40 or 50 a game.
Yeah.
My only other thing, I know you got to go here real quick. Mel Tucker, maybe he's getting looked at. I've even heard of Louisville and Colorado. Do you think Glenn Schumann would maybe get promoted, or what's your thoughts? I love Mel, but I know he wants to be a head coach. What do you think?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised we were able to hang on to Mel for this year. So it's not going to shock me if he goes. And with Kirby as head coach, I'm never really going to be that concerned about what we do with the defensive coordinator position. I'm more concerned about position group coaches than I am about who's technically the defensive coordinator, because I think Kirby's always going to run a pretty tight ship and have he's always going to have a first-class defense. I'm not too concerned about who gets the title of defensive coordinator. So whether it's Schumann, whether they bring somebody in from outside, I don't really. It doesn't really. It's not a concern. I don't have any question marks about. All my questions right now about UJ are on the offensive side of the ball, with the exception of defensive tackle. I don't understand. I hate complaining about our recruiting because it's like one of those memes you see on Facebook, the hashtag white people problems or something, where some rich guy's complaining that his air conditioner's out in his Lamborghini or something.
Yeah.
Because our recruiting wise, I mean, we're great, but 3 defensive tackles total over the last 2 years. And one of those defensive tackles we signed 2 years in a row because he didn't qualify the first year. So, and show how desperate we are. We bring in a Notre Dame leftover that's not good enough to start, and this guy looks like he's on roller skates out there. This Jay Hayes.
Yeah, he's been a bust.
So no wonder no wonder Notre Dame got rid of him. But man, so it was good to get Jordan Davis, but we keep losing. I mean, God, how many elite defensive tackles have we lost to Auburn over the last 5 or 6 years? At least half a dozen.
Yeah.
And they're all heading to the NFL now. Derek Brown, all these people, and then even last year, was it?
We lost Solomon a couple of years ago. Remember him? He went to Michigan. That was bad.
Sandage to South Carolina. I don't know. For whatever reason, it seems like the top defensive tackles in our state, we can never lock them down.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, I like Jordan Davis. I've been impressed with him this year. God, he's huge too, like 6'6". I think when he got to campus, he was like 6'6", 380.
Yeah.
And they've got him down now to like 340 or something. But I mean, that's a ass man right there, that Jordan Davis. But he's kind of raw too. I mean, he's really got a lot of upside.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm excited to watch him over the next couple of years. And when Trent Thompson declared last year for the draft, I was like, you know what? Bye. You weren't that good, and you had some other issues. But after watching this year, it would have been nice to have him, even if we just rotated him in, a few series here and there or something, just for an extra body. I mean, he wasn't terrible.
Right.
And I don't know, just watching teams run up the middle on us is enough to make you drive your head through the wall.
I agree. And how can everybody follow you? I know you got your LouTube channel. It's blowing up, but how can
go to YouTube? If you just go to YouTube and do a search for Uncle Lou, you'll find it. The Uncle Lou channel. I'm on Twitter too, at Crazy Uncle Lou. I'm on Twitter, but I don't post on Twitter that much. Just troll a little with the Alabama fans or whatever. But
Right.
Yeah, I post college football videos every single day of the year. So you guys check out that YouTube channel. We have a lot of fun over there. We do like 5 live shows a week too. Where I take phone calls from people. They yell at me and tell me how stupid I am. And
Oh, yeah.
that kind of stuff. So yeah, just search Uncle Lou on YouTube and you guys will find it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today. And George's got a big one Saturday. Got a mountain to climb, but got the Gumps. So we'll see.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me on. I always enjoy it.
Okay. I appreciate it. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
All right. See you.